enough. As good enough.
Welcome to our weekly podcast, Good Enough, with your co-hosts, Sam Lewis and Mark Lips. Our goal on Good Enough is to interview guests who do not let being perfect keep them from achieving their dreams. Whether it be writing a book, growing a business, achieving some other success, all of these people are heartfelt, passionate, and good enough to be noticed and guests on our podcast. We welcome them, and we also thank you for joining us today.
Buongiorno, buongiorno,
Yeah, we manure.
buongiorno. Man, I got jet lag.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, and a little bit of a European cold.
Yeah, they just they say you just gotta, get rid of the jet, just sleep when you need to. And
I need to sleep all the time.
no, that's what I caught myself just as I said that. I said, yeah, he's sleeping all the time.
It's easier coming back than going over.
Hey, you guys packed a lot into that European. Hey, listeners, Sammy just got back from France and Belgium and Amsterdam and St. Louis, and where else did you go?
Chicago.
Chicago.
We went to Brussels, Bruges, Amsterdam, and spent a week in Paris.
Nice. Perfect.
And it was wonderful. And Candace, my daughter, was the travel guide. She arranged everything, and we came off without a hitch. I mean, we spent all our time on trains and metros, and
that just goes to show you we should have kept those trains.
Yeah, right.
We destroyed that infrastructure and put in cars and highways, and
we got all over Paris on the metro. We figured it out, and of course I had my pocket picked on the metro, and they warned you about it. But he didn't get anything, but I caught him. And yeah, I didn't grab a hold of him, but I caught him doing it. I felt my back. I had a little fanny pack thing, and I was going up the stairs, and I was behind the rest of the group, and I felt my fanny pack hit my butt, like somebody had ran into me. I turned around, this guy right behind me on the stairs. I mean, his face was right in my ass, and then we locked eyes, and I was like, that guy was trying to get in my bag. So he kind of walked around me, and we locked eyes all the way up the stairs. And then he went to one end of the platform, and he kept looking over his shoulder at me. And so I got to the other end. I turned my bag around. It was unzipped. And I had a handkerchief or a bandana in there, and it was gone. He was probably just pulling out the stuff till he found something. I had nothing in there worth stealing, but he didn't know that. But he had it all the way unzipped.
Man, well, you were nice to him.
Well, I thought I might have if I'd have figured it out quick. I wasn't sure, but I thought that guy's trying to get my bag, and I caught him. And then I didn't realize he had actually gotten my bag, and that's why he kept looking over his shoulder, and that's what he headed to the other end of the.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah. But it was a good thing, because that told everybody in our group, like, this is real. This the guy tried to get my. So we got a little more cautious after it, but the metro was great.
Yep. I love trains, Europe, everything. Just getting around is
the train from Amsterdam to Brussels, and Brussels to
go to Frank's in Amsterdam.
Yeah. That was a solemn moment. I hadn't expected it for me to feel like that, and I think it was because there were people in the room that were really feeling it, way more than I, they were like, it was a thing, and you could feel and it was very, very, very quiet when you got up to that area.
Let's go to the other neighborhood. Did you go to the red light district?
We walked over there by that, but we had Olive with us. And so,
you didn't walk through the,
Yeah, I don't know that it'd been, we just didn't walk through it.
Yeah.
I've seen something like it before.
Yeah.
Well, Bourbon Street is a little bit like that.
We've been to Centralia. We know what that is.
We've been to Walmart. We've been to Walmart. We know what the
Oh, let's see, and the boats and the bikes. I mean, I just love it. Amsterdam's cool.
those
Yeah,
bikes were. I was ready for it, but
yeah,
I wasn't ready for it. And
oh,
the rush hour is at 9 o'clock or later.
yeah,
Which all the guy warned us. He says, "Hey, at rush hour, this place it looked like the start of the Tour de France for an hour,
yeah, yeah.
and you best not be in the bike lane. They will yell at your ass in the bike lane."
Oh yeah, yeah,
And they were crashing. I don't. I've posted my video, but I was taking a video and these guys crash and they just get back up on the bike and take off.
yeah.
And they're in business suits and high heels and
Uh,
yeah, it's like. And
Still, they.
somebody said, "Are you going to get on a bike and ride with them?" I said, "No, I'm not. That is they mean business, and I don't want to get between them and their business,
All
right?"
right. Hey, listen, real quick, uh, listeners. This is brought to you by the Right Choice Farm Stay and Catering here in Northern California, Lakeport, California, as well as the Happy Friday Neighbors newsletter. And I wish you guys would come on my newsletter so I could get some content from you. I don't charge you much. No, I don't charge at all. But anyway, Sam.
This end is here in Bloomington, Illinois, is brought to you by Pride Staff, or staffing agency, recruiting, headhunting. I think I'm going to move into more C-level direct hire headhunting in my future. And also, I have a Substack. It's not as quite as neighborly as Mark's newsletter, but it comes out regularly. I won't say every week, but
Nice.
anyway, Sam Substack. And that's it from this side of the country.
Hey,
And so today you have a guest, right? Or no,
David Rosenfeld, he and I have known each other for long time. He's a journalist by trade, by background. He was a journalist with the um, uh, not the Beach Reporter, the other big newspaper, bigger than the Beach, maybe.
the
Well,
New York Times,
no, no, no,
Wall
in the
Street
South
Journal.
Bay, in the South Bay. But anyway, he's now kind of struck out on his own. He's got his own Substack. He's got his own blog. Uh, he's obviously with this book, he's doing some ghostwriting. I'm surprised he hasn't written his own book yet. He's an avid sailor. He's always out on that ocean in his sailboat doing his thing, cruising back and forth, hanging out with the guys at the dock. That's who I would assume he'd write about, if he was starting to put his own book together, because they're all characters there that some live on their boats, and but they're all down there and they're all hanging out and telling lies. So but David, great guy.
Well, I look
And
forward to meeting him. I
I don't know
I
how
haven't done.
I want to find out, and I'm sure it's in the book, but just how he hooked up with this guy, this bounty hunter, and telling
Yeah,
his,
that's
which sounds like it could be a movie. So,
yeah.
but
Well,
Moses
that's
Kardashian. Hey, when you say you're going to do C-suite, a buddy of mine in Palos Verdes is all C-suite, direct, uh, hiring and all that. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah.
You got right. Starting your own. Basically, it's
I don't want. I would do it through.
a headhunting business.
Yeah, I got to say right now I would do it through Pride Staff because I still have a contract with it.
Right. But yeah, you do it on your own. That's what David does. He does it. He does it on his own. So
That's what I think. Anyway, that's a different story, different day.
yeah.
But so you
But
guys have been busy at the farm.
yeah, yeah. We've also been busy just getting the place ready, weed whacking and mowing and working on irrigation, and then we're doing our Friday night dinners in the barn, things like that. We have one coming up Friday, and we always feature locally sourced. So all the produce is from a farm, a particular farm. The wine's from a particular vineyard, local vineyard. Our protein this time is bison, and that is from a bison ranch over on Highway 20. And so, in fact, Tammy's picking up 50 bison tenderloin steaks, I think, right now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Hey, we got straight up 4 o'clock, so let's go meet
All right.
David.
Let's go. Let's go see David. As I live and breathe.
Hey there, Mark.
You, man. Look at
How's it
you.
going?
I see you on Facebook all the time and read you on Facebook all the time. So look at this. Actually, front and center, live and in person. This is pretty cool. Hey,
Here I am.
listeners, this is David Rosenfeld. He's a journalist by trade, an activist by passion, and a sailor also by passion, I guess, but a sailor by dream. I don't know. I mean,
Always have more ambitions. Yes,
yeah. I was dreaming about getting a bigger boat.
of course.
Hey, do you? Now, I think I asked you this before. So anyway, listeners, we're going to be talking to David about. As I said, he's a writer. He's got a Substack. He's got, and he can tell you about all this later. But a blog, and he's never afraid to say what he thinks, which is what I really like. And known him for a lot of years. But do you ever use your boat for the paddle? Catalina paddle?
No, because I think I'm too slow. They paddle too fast for me. Remember, you
right.
asked me about your son, but I only make about 4 knots, so I think they paddle a little faster.
Yeah. Hey, hold up!
Yeah.
What a win?
Yeah, that's how slow we really are. Sailboat, yeah.
No, that's right. Sailboat. Yeah, because Gabe did it first time last year. I don't know if you remember, but I had talked to you about that too, and you. So
yeah, that's wild.
That unbelievable.
Well, I'm always up for an adventure, and journalism for me was always an adventure. That's why I loved it so much as a reporter. So,
right. What now? Who did you report for?
Well, I was a journalist for 20 years for newspapers and websites and lots of different things. The last job I had was with the Daily Breeze and the LA Daily News.
Yeah, I kept blanking. I kept going beach reporter. Blah, blah,
It was the Beach Reporter. The Beach Reporter was bought by the Southern California News Group that also owned the Daily Breeze. So I was writing for both.
Okay,
that's why it was kind of confusing.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You did good work.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for having me today. So we're live now.
We're live. Okay. We'll record it and share it and send it
as live as Mark and I can be.
Yeah.
So our discussion is going to be about writing. Is that what this is? Talking about the process.
I'm Sam Lewis, by the way, and I'm Mark and I are high school buddies.
Sam. And all right. I forgot. Yeah.
So we were having a conversation in his living room a few years ago about staying connected, and somehow this podcast thing came up. So this is how we do it. We've always had, both of us been readers, lifelong. I used to hang out in his mother's bookstore back in Mount Vernon back in the day. So somehow we've kind of matriculated to writers on here and talk about the craft of writing, the art of writing, the technical side. You get up at morning at 6 and you put in 400 words, 4,000 words, whatever. But it's whatever, we kind of promoting whoever's on here, what they want to promote,
Okay. Well, pretty cool.
I saw your Substack. You got a nice looking Substack.
Hey, thanks. Is that like a nice looking rack? What are you talking about?
Well, Substack is where a lot of the independent journalists have gone. Terry Moran just started a Substack. He just got fired from ABC.
Yeah.
So it's been a place where you can cultivate, subscribers. I'm a little concerned that there's so many writers on there that it's hard to. Yeah, right. You can't. It's hard. You can't subscribe to everything. I think they need a model where you can have a blanket subscription, and then it will cover. You have tokens or something, and then
right.
Pay out for various. Or I don't know. They have to fix the system. I think.
Do you make any money on your Substack?
I'm sorry.
Do you make any money on your Substack?
I have had a couple of friends of my parents send me some money.
Yeah, it's like charity. I have a Substack too, and I've got a few tiny subscribers, but nothing like.
But I mean, I'd say for me, you talk about writing. It's like I was a reporter for 20 years. It's something that like ever since I was 13 years old, I was a journalist basically, like for the junior high newspaper, and just like always, that's what I wanted to do and wanted to be, and that's what I identified with for so long. And leaving, I don't know, the whole thing just for me, it just became very toxic, like just mentally, financially, the stress, and on top of that, COVID just drove me nuts because I reported really heavily on COVID, and that was kind of the last straw. And then the Trump era and all the harassment that we were facing, and it's just like I just had enough.
Yeah.
So, like I got a real estate license, and I started working for lawyers as an investigator, which is fun, but I didn't really have that much work. And the real estate's good money, but I just hate it. It's like not what I meant to do at all. So,
Well, when
but
you
it's
say when you say investigating, okay,
yeah.
meaning researching
Yeah,
records.
well, I was trying to take my journalism skills and bring it to lawyers and say, this is what I could do as far as researching, getting statements, just, sussing out the
interviewing
stories.
interviewing people or
Yeah, exactly.
There's a phrase for that. It's, what is it? Casting pearls before swine, or I
Oh
don't know.
yeah, yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a word.
Yeah. But
is that
like,
where
I
you,
don't know,
is
it's just
that,
like and
is
so
that
I
where
did do
you
that
met
for a few years.
Moses Kardashian? Is that where you met Moses Kardashian when you were doing
No, actually, yeah. So I met Moses as a reporter,
Oh,
but
okay.
anyway, just give real quick before I
Yeah,
lose my
yeah,
train of
yeah.
thought.
No,
It's
keep
like
going.
the reason I started writing the Substacks was because so many people were asking me like, "Oh, how's your writing? Are you writing? Are you writing?" And I'm like, "No, I hate writing. Like I'm sick of writing." And but over time, it's like I think it's sort of like maybe a lot of writers will say this. It's sort of like a compulsion, and like
Oh
it's
yeah.
something that if I'm not doing it, I've learned that I'm not really fully. I don't feel like complete, and like I'm not creative. Like that's my creative outlet. Um, so the Substack, it's just giving me a deadline. And if I can't make the
Yeah.
deadline, then so what? But most of the time, I do try and make it. And I find that my writing is better when I write fast and on deadline. It always has been.
Well, I mean
So
that's true. I mean, you got that from 20 years of journalism. You were always
yeah,
on deadline. When
yeah.
I was on TV news, we were always on deadline, and
I didn't know that, Mark. That really, I didn't know that.
yeah, in the 80s, I
Oh wow.
was a photographer reporter, and back when it was, I would do started out as a photographer reporter, and I would do stand-ups because they send you out and you're just supposed to shoot. Well, I would put the camera on a stand and I'd walk into the shot like I had a photographer with me, and it was.
Uh-huh.
But and then I was news director in Springfield, Missouri, at a ABC, later Fox affiliate. But I remember telling young reporters, they said, "Oh, I can't have it for." I said, "Listen, just go back, take 3 deep breaths, and knock it out." And
Yeah.
always fine. It was always fine. They just you can't panic. You can't. You just got to
Yeah.
keep
Well, I
plowing.
had a reporter mentor. He told me, he said, just write the first thing that pops into your head.
Well,
For
you
a
just
lead, he
pour it
said,
out. Pour it out.
yeah, don't fuss about it. Just get it out. So that's taught me a lot. And so getting to the Moses Kardashian thing, I met this guy as a reporter at the Beach Reporter because I was driving by this bail bonds place, and I always wondered like what. That's the cool thing about being a reporter is they always give you license to just be inquisitive and like, hey, what's that? Like, let me see what's behind that place. So I contacted the bail bonds guy across the street from the place. It's across from the Redondo police station.
Oh, Mark knows it
It's
really well.
Great
yeah,
place. Great
yeah,
guy.
Yeah, you don't have to tell
Location,
him where it's
location,
at.
location.
He's got the he's got the quick app on his phone
yeah.
now.
But it was real recognizable because they had a sign out front that said open 25 hours a day, and he had a phone. It was before cell phones, I guess. It was like a pay
Before,
phone out front. Yeah.
before we get too far along, let's explain to our viewers who Moses Kardashian
Oh,
is.
okay. Here, I got the book here. So I
You
I
make a
wrote a
movie on
yeah.
this guy, and you ghost wrote his biography.
Yeah.
Uh, and but explain to them who he is before we go into how you
Okay,
got.
sure. Yeah, so he is a bail bondsman and bounty hunter. He would do his own bounty hunting, and he started in the 70s, 1974. So his early stories are just wild, you know. I mean, just lawlessness where they could just do anything. I mean, he's handcuffing guys and throwing them into the back of his trunk, and the judges and the cops, they don't even care. And he's just got all kinds of crazy stories of him busting down doors and taking people out and stuff. So
You knew
anyway,
guys in the mob and all that too, right?
yeah, and then he also grew up across the street from a guy in it was the LA Mafia. I don't know if you realize, well, you probably know this, the LA uh the Cosa Nostra, the real Italian mafia had an LA affiliate in
Yep.
the 50s, I guess
Yeah.
into the 60s maybe. And the guy, his name was Frank De Simone. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Frank?
I think I have. I don't know. I've read a
So
lot about those guys.
yeah.
The guy, the famous mobster who dated Jane Mansfield,
Uh-huh.
big time in
Was
Was
that was
he
was that
or
Mickey Cohen?
yeah, Mickey Cohen, Mickey
Mickey
Cohen.
Yeah,
Cohen?
yeah. So they were the Jewish mobsters, but these were the Italians.
Ah,
And yeah, because the Jewish mob was big then at that time.
it
But
was
Frank
Bugsy
De Simone,
Siegel and those guys in
I
L.A.
think so, yeah. So Frank De Simone was actually the character that was played by what's his name? Uh, I can't think of it.
Oh,
Robert Duvall.
Robert
Yeah,
Duvall.
Oh
in
yeah, right.
is it Goodfellas or The Godfather? I forget.
Godfather. He played
The Godfather, the
he
lawyer,
was he wasn't part of the family, but
the lawyer, right?
he could never be made because he wasn't part of the
Yeah,
family, but
But
he was a
see,
lawyer.
he
he
wasn't
was the lawyer. The lawyer.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what Frank was. Frank was the lawyer, and then Frank's son was Tommy DeSimone, and he was played by his name's escaped me. The other Italian, Vinny, the guy that my cousin Vinny,
Yeah.
Joe Pesci.
Joe
So-
Pesci, Joe Pesci, yeah, in the Lufthansa heist from the Godfather, from the Goodfellas.
right.
So there's all these connections and stuff. So that made it more interesting. And then I don't know, there's a whole bunch of interesting connections in there. Also, like early days of bail bondsmen, the Glasser brothers, they were called in the 30s in LA. And while they were coming out, Moses was coming in, and that's how he kind of learned the ropes. But
I got addicted to Dog the Bounty Hunter for a while.
oh yeah,
Honestly did.
Yeah, what
And
did,
he
what
hates
did
him.
Moses say about that guy?
He hated him.
he hates him, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. He's
But
all
there was
Hollywood, you know.
But there
Yeah.
was some, I mean, it's not an easy job, and but you could see
No.
what they were doing, and
Yeah.
so did this guy ask you to help him write the book, or did you say this is a good book?
Yeah.
Did
So
you go to him?
basically, I did an article for the paper, and at that time, I was blown away by his stories because he just kept going and going, and I'm like, I just need like an article. I don't need that much. So then I said at that time, we should do a book, and I even I wrote a chapter even for him, and then it just kind of went dormant for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden he called me out of the blue and said, I want to do this, and it was an interesting experience because we spent a lot of time together, did a lot of interviewing, many hours, and then I had to go back and take all this information, write it out into note form. Like I transcribed all the audio, and yeah, it was a ton of work. It was a really good lesson in like organizing. I've never worked with that much material before,
How
so.
how now? Why would it have been ghostwritten and not by Moses Kardashian and David Rosenfeld?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just his prerogative. It was whatever he chose
It
to
might be
do.
better for you that you're a ghost in this case.
Yeah, I
Some
mean,
of
I
the
kind
clients and some,
of, yeah.
I
I mean, the only reason I want more business, like I would like to do more of this. So, but it's fine. A lot of
So what do
ghostwriters
you
are that way.
along that lines is what do you want to accomplish with your Substack? Because you write about several different things. I mean, a lot of political stuff. But you cover a little bit of everything on your Substack. So do you see that? Is that just a showcase for your potential ghostwriting or what? I don't know.
No, I don't
Is there
know.
a
I didn't really
question in
think it
there?
through. Didn't really think it through that much. I think it's just a writing exercise for me mostly.
Platform. Yeah,
But I was thinking, there are some Substacks that are uh that are more ambitious. Like I'm not doing any reporting on there, so it's not really that time consuming for me. But like if I were to,
Well, do you
I don't know, there's
follow
a
Heather Cox or any of those people?
Heather Cox. No, I was going to mention there's one Megan Conniff. She covers the courts and she does tremendous court reporting. I'm so impressed with her, and it's all on Substack.
yeah.
But
These
like
are
it's a
timely. So these
what's that?
are with you and Megan. These are timely, right?
Yeah, and that's like
So
real
it's
reporting. Yeah,
yeah, it's like well with yours too, because you're usually talking about current events, stuff going on, and your thoughts
yeah.
and
But I'm
how it
not talking to anybody. I'm just reading a few things and then writing my opinion.
I tell you,
right.
Heather Cox
And
publishes daily, and I don't know how she does it. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
not a short couple of paragraphs. It's dense. So I suspect she has people working for her.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
But she's
well,
she's a political historian. So it's
Hmm.
always history weaved in with whatever. But anyway, so
that
so how does one find work as a ghostwriter? I mean, how
I don't
you
know.
go
Beats
to
me.
these
Yeah.
you
Just
make
kind of word
sales
of
calls,
mouth, I
15
guess. I don't
sales
know.
calls a day. Hey, you want to ghostwrite?
well,
Yeah. Yeah.
why? But I would think the same thing you would try to do as a writer, you would do with publishers, and tell them you're
Oh
available.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking like there's so many so many wealthy people that have big egos, sorry to say,
No.
that like always
No, that's news to
yeah.
me.
That want a book, they all think they have such a great story. That's kind of what I was thinking was I could get a lot of vanity projects.
Well, there's Trump. He's that's the biggest
Yeah.
of all of them. You could maybe
Yeah. And you remember the Trump ghostwriter? He's like
yeah.
has a bunch of bad stuff to say.
Yeah, yeah. I read that book when it first came out, and I was a young guy studying business, thinking I was going to be the next, Rockefeller or something. But that book bothered me.
Mm.
When I read it, I was like, I don't think I can do this. If this is what you have to do to be, because it seems a little on the edge of uh, ethical questions to me.
Yeah, you think?
But I was raised as a, very conservative Southern Baptist hillbilly, so.
Hey, David,
Mm.
speaking of egos and ghostwriting, do you know Jason Goldwater, who
Mm.
is he's in North Manhattan, and uh, they own the waxing salon. Anyway, his dad was a lawyer to the mob back in the 50s and 60s
Oh, okay.
in
Huh.
Vegas. And he remembers all these good fellows. He'd be a little kid, and he said, for some reason, my dad always got taken to the front of the line to go in to see shows and all kinds of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Mark,
And
who
that
was the
guy
who?
had the big, the big glasses, the shades, and all
Yeah.
that. But his mom's still alive. I think that'd be a cool story of her story. She was a Las Vegas showgirl that married him.
Mhm.
Mark,
Mhm.
who was the guy that was the chef or whatever you shared a story that he
Oh
got.
yeah. Well, he knows Lou Wasserman. You know Lou. So
Wasserman. I think so.
Lou Wasserman. He was a movie mogul. Very tight. He used to work for Al Capone back in the 20s, and started MCA with Jules Stein and that group. But yeah, but they're all
No, this
that.
was a guy that was a chef, and he got invited to do a chef thing, and it ended up being and he goes to Vegas. I'm sure you shared this with me. He goes to Vegas. He wasn't sure, and it was Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, somebody else, and he's cooking in the kitchen. They all come in there and start getting drunk. They
Yeah,
don't even make it out with their wives that night.
yeah. Well, he can't. Yeah. got to be careful. Like when Tammy was private chef for Lou Wasserman's widow, it was understood you didn't take these stories anywhere else.
Uh-huh.
There were all kinds of wild stories flying around. So, yeah, but yeah, you're right, though. I think, especially as we're going into the largest senior citizen population, I think there's a lot of stories out there that, interesting people who don't want to take the time to do it themselves, but they'll be interviewed and let you do it. And, just see. I think maybe just getting with an agent or local publishers and say, hey, I'm here for you,
Yeah.
or do a mailing.
Mhm.
Only billionaires, and I'm available.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there is quite an industry for it, you know. You find a lot of professional writers that do it. It is logical.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. It was a real challenge. I do feel like everyone's got a story, you know, like I could write a book about anybody, you know. Maybe it wouldn't be the most interesting book, but you know, we could get enough material. Everyone's life has got stories in it.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about journalism. That's what I always loved.
Yeah.
Personality profiles was like one of my favorite things to do because you're just like, you know, asking people intimate questions and getting to the heart of who they are and presenting it to an audience. You know, it
You
was very
sound like a
rewarding.
recruiter. That's
For
what I do.
journalists?
I ask
Oh,
personal
okay.
questions and then I give
Oh,
it to an
yeah.
audience and they'll tell you stuff you can't believe, like
Yeah.
that's the little too much information.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have the license to ask personal questions, like being a journalist, or if you're interviewing somebody, or lawyers. Also, you know, it's
What's
Who
interesting?
are your heroes in writing?
oh for me, like Hunter
Oh
Thompson,
yeah, yeah.
you know, Hemingway.
I was just
Um,
in Shakespeare and Company last week in Paris.
okay,
Yeah, so
cool.
I did the Hemingway. I went from there to the two different cafes he hung out, and then I went to the hotel where he lived for a month.
Oh, neat.
Done my little Hemingway uh,
Yeah,
trip.
Journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, another project I'm just finishing now is a novel. It's my first novel. So actually
Oh,
doing
see,
this,
there you go.
I'm serious. Yeah. It's a
I
crime
love it.
thriller. Yeah. I don't know if you remember, Mark, there was a girl that went missing on Valentine's Day, maybe like 2010, I think it was. Her name was Corey Desmond.
Okay.
Do you remember that story? Okay, well,
I'm sure I
Good
would.
Lord, that name sounds familiar to me.
mm, well,
I would.
she was like a very attractive young woman. She was a bartender, and she just she went missing, and this guy just the story ended up being that some guy abducted her and killed her. And I covered it as a reporter, but it got me think. And actually, at the end of the story, after at the end of the trial, I got a call from a Dateline NBC producer, and she was asking, you know, she was trying to see if this could be a story for them. And she passed on it because she said there just wasn't like an alternative theory, you know, there wasn't any
Oh,
other
they got,
suspects,
or
you
did
know.
he?
Right, that sort of thing. So I just decided, like, why don't I just make some up and then make it a fiction? You know, so that's how I crafted this story. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm
Are
looking
you
for
a
an
fan?
agent.
Did you?
Right, then we'll have to, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay. So, because typically what we'll ask questions on here, thinking from the idea of a person who's always wanted to write a book, you know,
Okay.
what what kind of discipline do you employ? What are your habits? I mean, Sam will tell you all
Oh my
about,
God. Yeah.
writing pencil versus pen, or agreeing I'm going to do 8 pages a day, or or something like that.
Uh-huh.
What's the
Well, I'm
discipline?
not Fitzgerald. He did everything longhand, right? He wrote with a pen or pencil, I think. Yeah.
Right.
So did
But
Hemingway. Hemingway sharpened. I
did he
forget how
really?
many number two Black Warrior pencils every morning before he started
Hmm. Interesting. I was like Kerouac, you know, he wrote on the road on a scroll.
on a scroll.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that's even possible. It seems like
Right.
I don't know, like,
It was,
but
well, it
anyway,
was,
because he didn't want to stop, you know, like he just wanted to keep going.
well, he had had tons of notes over 2 or 3 years.
Right. So that
It
was the
wasn't like
thing too.
he
It's like,
and
he always,
Benzedrine might have helped him that week.
I know that Kerouac often said that was like, I was talking about these stories for so long that yes, I hammered it out in a week, but he had already been thinking about it and talking about it.
He knew what was going to happen on that
Yeah,
paper.
I totally identify with that. It's actually like with this novel, I had a day where I wrote 5,000 words and my wrist, I thought I had done damage to my wrist. Like honestly, I've never had that before where like I felt like I'd like
Carpal tunnel.
carpal tunnel or something. Yeah.
Well, you also can get carpal hiney from sitting too
Okay.
long.
Yeah.
So when do you write? You write? Are you a morning, evening?
In the morning. Yeah.
Okay. What
But
about where do you
the,
write? Do you like to write on your boat? Do you like to write at home? What?
I like the dual screen at home.
Okay.
Actually, like the thing that is weird to me is like the font makes such a big difference. I
Oh,
don't know
really?
why, but like, yeah, it does.
That's
Like the
interesting.
spacing and the font.
I haven't heard
I think
that.
there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with that. That's why I think handwriting has something to do with it. I think the font, I think the noise of the keyboard. I
Mm,
think, some people talk about they can only write on a manual because they like that
touch.
noise sounds like they're accomplishing something. It's just how that works in the
Yeah.
mind. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I do know that like writing fast for me is best. And I think, yeah, that stream of consciousness,
Right.
it always comes out better. So the faster I'm writing, I feel a little more confident that it's flowing. And like, okay, here's an interesting one for process is that I actually I used AI for this novel, but I didn't use it to write the
Wow.
novel. I used it as an editor,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
and it was brilliant,
It's really good.
Oh,
unbelievably
it is,
brilliant.
but when you go, one of the things that Sam and I found out with talking to writers, when you go to a publisher, they'll
Mhm.
ask you, "Did you use AI?"
Yeah, and so how am I supposed to answer that? Because it's a complicated question. I don't think they're fully
I
really
agree.
grasping like how you can
No,
use AI.
couldn't
Like
they
they're
say?
asking if AI wrote the novel,
Right.
but that's not how I used it.
I
We
to
talked
me
about
for an editor, to me that's an editor. That's not writing a novel. It's like if you went out and
if
hired
I'm a
some paid five
publisher,
thousand
wouldn't I say?
dollars.
Exactly.
But if
Exactly. It's
I'm a
just like
publisher,
if I
wouldn't I say you should concentrate on writing? We'll edit it for you. So,
well, I'm gonna have I mean, I've had my mom's read it. I'm gonna have other humans read it and give me feedback,
right.
and I'm gonna edit based on that. I mean, how is that any different?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
we
I this editor was able to read my book in 5 seconds and give me
Yeah.
like a complete a critique. Like it was, I said, act like a literary critic and critique the novel
Right.
well
Now,
and
some of the
suggest.
people that Mark and I have talked
go
to on
ahead.
this podcast they went out and actually paid people. I know Dave Morvac paid someone to edit his book. He did two
Sure.
edits. He did what they call it was the just the grammatical technical edit and then the content
Yeah, like a line edit or
line
yeah.
edit versus and then he paid two different people to do his and if
Yeah,
AI
so
can
I
do
don't
it.
understand. I don't see what the difference is. It's more efficient, it's cheaper and
And
better.
certainly research is way faster.
Right.
Yeah. So
Research is immediate.
and
So
to
with
be honest with you, like
AI,
I was stuck on my book and I was sitting with a friend and I was saying like I've been writing this book, but I don't know where to go with it. I'm stuck. And he said, "Why don't you stick it into Chat GPT and see what it says?"
right.
And that honestly, like it changed everything about my whole perspective. I did a complete rewrite after the suggestions that it gave me that were like really cool, like the plot twists and stuff. So yeah, okay, maybe I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess a part of me didn't come up with some of those plot twists, but who
The same,
cares? Like,
our understanding from talking to other writers is that publishers will ask you that question.
yeah.
They
Well,
will.
I'm not gonna. Well, it's on record now, but you know, I think, well, whatever. If they do, they do.
Yeah, yeah. But so when AI, did it actually change the writing, or did it give you suggestions to put for you to put into the writing?
It gave me suggestions. as a
Okay,
critique,
that's different.
and then it gave
awesome.
me proposed changes, plot changes, suggestions.
But
But I didn't take all the suggestions.
anybody could do that for you.
Of course. Of
Right.
course.
You said my
So
mom.
I think that is what AI is for. You hear everyone saying it's an assistant.
Right.
It's an assistant.
Yeah.
And when AI first came out, I was so threatened by it
Mhm.
because I'm a writer, and yeah, it can write an article in 2 seconds. It can certainly write a blog post with about whatever, like some evergreen content. It could do that in like 2 seconds.
Right.
That
Yeah.
job is done.
You got
I
to
used
prove
to do
it.
that.
You have to prove it.
Did you see
Yeah,
60
sure,
minutes
sure.
60 minutes a few weeks ago? We're talking to sculptors.
Oh yeah.
And they're using those CNC and they're they're saying, hey, I would have employed 5 people to knock this rock off. And then
Yeah.
I go down and I do the finish. I know what I want it to look like. I go down to finish it, but it's not making this. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we just have to learn to live with it and
Well, I
use
think
it for,
so. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Well, Mark
Yeah.
Mark is pretty certain it's going to kill us all.
Yeah. Well, I just think that it is going. Well, I mean, look at some of the most, the big AI uh, people out there. They're saying it's going to happen sooner than later, but it's going to replace a lot of people. And
Mhm.
Well, we got a lot of jobs that are going unfilled. So
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about that today with Jerome Powell, and I I think I think there's going to be a lot of new jobs as well.
well,
So I
that's
don't necessarily.
what I tell students today. I said, listen, try to look around the curve and see if you can see if you are going to be replaceable by a robot or AI or something like that. Because if you are, then you need to be thinking, maybe how do I hedge my bet against all that?
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the robotic, even the robot, I mean, we're using robots for surgery. We're using, all of that stuff now. And more restaurants are beginning to turn to robots if they can afford it. I mean, it's expensive to start, but
Yeah. I mean, we have to adapt.
yeah, I think there's a lot of we just there's a lot of jobs that are going unfilled right now, and they're not great jobs. But I think about in the world of lawyers, legal, that you start your career off just pounding books, doing research, looking things up, and
oh yeah,
and think about the physical amount of time you're actually really not doing anything. You're just going to the thing, finding the book, pulling the book down, turning. That's not
Reading.
value added.
right. But
And how long it takes us to read things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not value added.
the thing is, what they're discovering too, though, is it doesn't know everything. So you can't just go in blindly trusting what it's saying. Like the one lawyer who got disbarred because he said this was a brief, and it come to think of it, and then the judge came to find out that he'd gotten that from AI. Well, it was not correct. It was untrue.
And that's going to get worse and worse over time, those hallucinations, because it's going to be feeding off itself. So like it's going to be repeating mistakes, basically.
Yeah,
I think that's the real danger. Yeah. So
That's pretty much what I do.
check it. Yeah.
I repeat my same mistakes.
Yeah.
I told Tammy this, or Sammy, this story before, but I wrote a letter to in Palos Verdes to a guy in public works there, and then this popped up and said, "Do you want to put this through AI or
Oh
chat?"
yeah.
And I thought I wrote a pretty good letter. I put it through AI, and holy cow, that letter was
So much better.
That was a great letter. I'm going, hey, but I even told the guy when I wrote, I edited the letter, and I said, by the way, I used AI. This letter is much better than what I originally wrote you. Just patting myself on the back here, So
Yeah.
he laughed when he wrote me back, and he said, "Yeah, I get it." But all the cities now, communities, everybody's using AI.
Yeah.
Crafting letters, crafting
So I was thinking, going back to your heroes and stuff. I mean, In Cold Blood has got to be the mother and father of all.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I love that one too. Of course. Yeah.
I mean,
Wasn't
the
that
way he
brilliant?
did it and how the masterpiece that ended up being, and
Yeah. Yeah. I really admired that. Yeah. I'd
What?
love to do something like that. What's this other guy I've got is David Gran. He just wrote a couple. He's the one that wrote wasn't that Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was
But he's got a couple others.
that I
I
read
love
that. That was
that
a good book.
yeah.
Eric Larson is someone who I just love his stuff because I'm a
That's
historian.
fiction. Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
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 his nonfiction.
Oh,
no.
really?
Yeah.
He said I met him a few years ago. He
It's
came to
about-
town and signed a
Really?
book for me, and he was telling me that if he quotes anybody that's speaking in one of his books is a quote he's taken from a museum, library, something. He doesn't make up any of his quotes. They're all something he found somewhere in his. He says, every town I go to, I find the library, and that's where I start.
He's fascinating for me because he makes history enjoyable.
Yes, he
I've always
does.
said that Michener and Eric Larson should all
Michener.
be taught in the classrooms to make it interesting for people. Read that. If like American, read about tech. If you're studying Texas, read Michener. If you're studying Alaska, read Michener. If you're studying, Hawaii, read Michener. Eric Larson with the events that are happening out there. Hey, so we don't have much time left. Hey, David, what do you got for the writer out there? You've got all these years of experience. What do you say? How do you get them off the onto the treadmill? Maybe
That's
how
it.
do you
Mark
get
is
what?
wanting you to prod him.
to the gym?
For a new writer? What are you saying?
No,
To get you to
he
write?
wants you to push him
Yeah,
To write more?
to write at all.
you just
To write
write.
it all.
Yeah. Should
Well,
they
I
just
mean,
start journaling? Maybe start
well,
journaling to start or something.
journaling, of course, yeah. Well, they used to say you just write, you don't stop, you just write. It's a stream of consciousness that will open you up a little bit. That's kind of why I'm doing the Substack, because it gets my fingers going on the keyboard. So it opens up your mind, it frees you up so that you're not second guessing what you're writing.
Hey,
And
Sam.
that's the real problem.
Yep. Sam, take a picture.
Oh, thank you.
And so I think we hold ourselves back, especially when we get older.
Yep.
And we become critical of ourselves. And so as we're writing, we're second guessing.
Hey, everybody look at the screen like I'm taking a picture and smile. All right.
Well, but
Here.
I liken it to going to the gym. The toughest part about going to the gym is getting up and going to the gym.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can procrastinate, you come up with all kinds of reasons, excuses, all that. So writing to me is just start, like you said.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
doing it. Before we have to go though, David, I have seen some of your writing. I have seen some of your writing about some of your friends down at the dock. I think you should be doing a story about those guys.
Oh, I got one cooking. Yeah.
Characters, rich.
Yeah.
David, thanks for being on here. I knew this was go fast, and you get that novel out. We'll have you on after the novel.
We're gonna have you again.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks, you guys, so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, appreciate it. All right.
Good. 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 Enough. As good enough.